r/AskReddit. What's the most expensive mistake you've ever made?
When I was welding 1, screwed up a $65,000 door. 2, may or may not have blown a hole in a $1 million plus missile launching platform.
I have a friend who works in French Guiana on launching satellites for EU. He does some job on the launch pads, electricity and such. He said they used to go to launches to see if the rocket will blow up. It did the first time they decided not to go. I guess it was this one. Anyway, he spoke to one of the engineers who worked on the satellite, asking how he feels about 3 years of his work getting blown up. He said, unfazed, that it just means he has 3 more years of work secured.
Not taking better care of my teeth. Now I need thousands of dollars worth of work, and can't afford it, so will likely end up losing them all.
Had a part-time job as a teenager at a Yamaha dealership that sold dirt bikes, ATVs, motorcycles. I was told one day to deliver a Raptor to some address. Well, I loaded the ATV up on the trailer and took off in the truck down the road. I noticed that the truck was low on gas, so I pulled over and filled her up. I made it about 1.5 miles down the road and the truck started running funny and eventually cut off. I had put gasoline in a diesel truck. I was fired about 4 days later.
We did this in Iceland, in a 2017 rental. To say that was an expensive mistake is an understatement.
Not me, but my best mate made a doozy. He was in a bit of a rush to buy himself a car. He had a nice little nest egg of $20,000 put aside just for this purchase. He did a bunch of private inspections around our area, but he just couldn't find one he wanted. He finally stumbled across the perfect car for him: great mileage, all-country driving, full service history and in excellent condition. The only problem? The buyer was on the other side of the country. For whatever reason, my mate decided to contact the dude and organize the purchase. After the money transferred, the ad disappeared and so did the car owner. I just have no idea what was going through my mate's head. It has been 5 years and they never caught the fraudster, and my friend never got his $20K back. TLDR, don't ever buy a car without inspecting it, and don't treat private car sales like a drunk Amazon purchase.
Freshman year of college, I thought my final exam was at 11:30. It was at 9:30. The exam was 40% of my grade, so I failed. I lost my scholarship, and had to pay to retake the class.
Wow, I missed a final too. Thought it was the next day. Somehow the professor let me come to her office the next morning to take it. I think she only docked me 2/3 of a letter grade, which in retrospect was pretty amazing. I actually forgot about this for 15 years until I read your post.
I bought a business. Turns out I'm not all that great at being a business owner.
Losing my father's wedding ring at the beach about 5 years ago. My mom gave it to me when my father passed away, which was 13 years ago.
I paid several $1,000s to have the backyard fenced in. 2 months after the job was complete and paid for, a neighbor complained that the fencing was about 2 inches onto his property and that it had to be removed, even though the fencing contractor said it had been done strictly according to a survey he had procured. Turned out the neighbor was correct. By the time it was determined, the fencing contractor had gone out of business.
Not me, but a friend trained to be a fireman, and the first month on the job crashed one of the fire trucks. Crashed as in wrecked. He's no longer a fireman. Seriously, wasn't me.
So, how big was this fire truck you crashed?
Bad time during life and thought buying a new sports car would solve my internal issues. It didn't, and I was stuck with a debt. It was sweet to drive and I loved the looks it got, but it did little to resolve my actual problems. I paid it off and sold it 3 years later for a net $30,000 loss.
Just realize that some of the people with nice things might just be in debt and not rich.
I was driving down the street and a woman blew a kiss at me from a bus passing by. I leaned over to my friends to say, "Hey guys, did you just see that? She blew me a crash. Ran into the little VW Fox in front of me and then he rammed the Audi in front of him. That sucked. I totally destroyed the VW."
3 words. University of Phoenix.
Waiting 5 whole years before I began investing in my 401k. Despite a very generous company match.
The power of compound interest at a modest 6% gain over the span of your entire career is truly staggering. Best decision I ever made was to put away 20% of my paycheck each month into the military's version of a 401k thrift savings plan. I've been doing it for 15 years now, and I have a nice little nest egg that is only going to continue growing. And now that it's become such a habit for me, my paychecks and therefore contributions have continued to go up, and I'll be able to have this money as my financial bedrock when I retire. You don't need to be the Wolf of Wall Street to end up with a comfortable retirement. Sure, you'll never be doing cocaine on a yacht in the Hamptons, but you'll also not be working some dead-end job when you're in your 60s, either.
Not starting my retirement account 10 years earlier than I did. Brickling every laptop in the company for a day plus, in a place where a lot of people are paid on commission. I don't know how much productivity was lost dollar amount wise, but it was a lot.
One time we thought I'd blown up a $500,000 satellite communication system with a power test. My first class and I had a grand old time going back to fundamentals, tearing down the system, checking everything over, and fixing stuff as we went. Turns out I only blew up the $100,000 power amp near the dish, which only happened because the prior ET3 had been really lazy with his weatherproofing. It was a lot of fun.
Bought a Mazda RX-8. Went from paying £2,000 for it to selling it to the scrapman for £35 in 3 months. Also, if I had stayed at my last job one more year, my share options would have vested and netted me £20,000. Sigh.
Engagement ring for the first girl I fell in love with. Sure is a shiny rock kicking around the bottom of my drawer now.
Shoo that. Sell it. The rings from my wife's first marriage came in very handy when we were scraping together the down payment on our first home.
I bent a pin on my new motherboard when trying to insert the CPU. Sad face.
Leasing a 2-story place in Sydney. So cheap. $400 a week. I live with Mum, who I basically care for. She got heart disease and PTSD. I'd been there 5 months when suddenly the apartment next to us collapsed. Massive gas leak. No one was injured miraculously, but the whole thing made the damn news. Had to avoid TV cameras. Emergency services everywhere. Craziness. I wasn't allowed back into my house for 6 weeks. I had no possessions. Just a few things I could grab on the way out. The government put Mum and I in a hotel. I had to buy us clothes, toiletries and general day-to-day things. Mum was stressed as all hell, which isn't good for her. Nightmare time. Had to find us a new house. Finally got access to my possessions to find half of my stuff damaged. They had piled almost everything on top of each other. My bed was stacked on the couch right on top of my laptop. Couch was ripped beyond repair. Rain had spilled through opened windows in our absence, damaging linen, electrical appliances, etc. Some absolute dratwit had stolen a watch Grandad had given Mum. It was nowhere to be seen. Worst of all, my nan's ashes were gone. Lost half of my possessions, pretty much. Devastating financially and emotionally. If I could turn back time, I would have spat on that flipping lease. Now 18 months later, I get a call from a credit agency telling me about a massive charge that got sent to them by Energy Australia. The Great Scotters charged me for all the gas that leaked that night. Unbelievable.
I feel like you should contact a lawyer or Tracy Grimshaw. But for reals, the lawyer.
$100,000 on 2 degrees. First was $60,000, and was basically useless due to a combo of the job market when I graduated, 5 people per 1 job, and not working while taking classes. Second was $30,000 more and $10,000 in interest since the old ones were deferred too long. Then I found out, as I'm about to graduate, that the state can cover my tuition as part of rehab, job training due to disability. I finally got a real career-oriented job in my field, and 9 months in, my vision deteriorated to the point I'm on long-term disability and no job.
Due to disability in the USA, you can get your student loans dismissed. Brother did it.
Grabbed the wrong briefcase from my office while I was rushing to the airport. It had a loaded Walter P99 in it. $5,000 fine from the TSA, but it was bumped down to $3,000 because I paid within 30 days. Really stupid of me, to say the least.
I hate it when I accidentally grab the assassination job briefcase when I really needed the spy gadget briefcase.
Wrecking my cars.
It's never good when it's plural.
I was traveling across the states with my friends and 6 days in we got to Miami. We got drunk in Wet Willie's and met a couple girls and we decided, at 3 a.m., it was a good idea to go skinny dipping. We all got naked and ran into the sea, leaving everything on the beach. We got out of the sea after fruitcaking around for a while and someone had stolen all our stuff. They took everything. I lost my wallet with $300 in it, my iPhone, my passport and not to mention all of my clothes. We all had to run back to our hostel naked, which was a good mile away. Still got laid. But I'm an idiot.
The week after I got my brand new laptop that I bought for $1,400, I ran it over with my car. Woo.
I work in construction estimating. Yesterday we noticed a typo in our Excel quantities sheet. Instead of pricing 7,000 SF of sidewalk, we priced 70,000 SF of sidewalk. That one extra zero will cost us $460,000. Sad face.